Well, good Monday evening, everyone. Todd Warren here on Facebook Live tonight, as well as streaming on the weather page of our website, ktalnews.com. And just a reminder that you can watch this at 9, pretty close to 9 o'clock on the KTAL Now app. In case you ever miss it, I am recording it, and I always upload it to the CTV app shortly thereafter. And again, don't forget to download that if you have a smart TV, as we made good use of it over this past weekend. Fortunately, we are done with all that mess, although it's still cold. Cold is going to be the main concern here for the next, say, 12 hours or so, as we do have that extreme cold warning in effect. I'll show you how cold we're going to get coming up also tonight. It looks like we're going to warm up starting tomorrow, as we'll do a pretty good amount of melting tomorrow, with temperatures warming into the 40s over most of the area. We eventually will return to the 50s by the time we get to possibly as soon as Wednesday for some of us. And then a little bit of a disturbance we'll have to watch for Thursday night. Still looks like most of the precipitation associated with it will stay to our south. I'll show you the details on that. And of course, we'll take you out a couple weeks as far as grain of salt time. And it does look eventually warmer as we move forward. And I did pull the numbers for a grain of salt night tomorrow night. So tune in for that when we'll take you into March. Kind of a look at how temperatures may fare and how rainfall may fare. If you have a question or a comment, feel free to ask away. If you just want to say hello, Todd, as you know, it's tradition to begin things with our hellos. So who is watching tonight? And something tells me Brian is the first to say hello. And Brian is indeed the first to say hello. Hello there, Brian. Gary, hello. Marnita, greetings to you. Chris, happy Monday. And I appreciate that, Chris. We had plenty of stuff here, Chris. Yes. I was just happy to be able to go home last night. It was an interesting drive, but I made it nonetheless. And actually kind of a bumpy ride, to be honest with you. Rusty, good evening. I am ready for the cold to leave too, and you'll like what you see coming up in the next 20 minutes or so. Brad, hello to you up there in WCOK. Chris in Ohio, I don't want to know how much snow you have up there, man. And tell us the temperature up there too. I'm sure it's quite cold. Christopher in Mount Pleasant. I'm glad you stayed home, Christopher. That was very wise, given how slick it is still. Somewhat, Christopher. Blended Models did a fairly good job with the winter storm when it was all said and done, in terms of if you count the sleet in with the snow part of things. And so we'll see. I still think most of it's going to be to our south. Brad says it's cold in WCOK. Norm, Gary is here watching in Palm Springs, California, mid-70s. And Norm says it's cool there. Thanks for rubbing it in, Norm. Or Gary, I should say. Brad, I appreciate it. Thank you very much. All right, let's get to it and show you what's happening. And just first of all, a look at what's happening on the interstates here in Shreveport. You can see, actually, DOT did a pretty good job clearing things off. Judging from my ride this morning, the smoothest part of the trip home was on 220, so minus the off-ramp on Airline, but I understand they've taken care of that today. So one point about showing this is that it looks like, okay, that's not too bad, but notice there's still moisture on the road, and when we dip into the teens tonight, that's going to freeze, guaranteed. So still going to be rather very treacherous out there, although we will see some improvement tomorrow. I'm going to try to get in the habit of starting with this, kind of set the record as right at the beginning of what we're looking at. My level of concern, basically because of tonight, and a little bit of that 3 is Thursday night, since we're not in the total clear yet. As tonight, again, we do have that extreme cold warning in effect, and with all the power outages that we have still over the southern sections of the ArkLaTex, obviously that is a reason for concern. But as far as wintry weather, minus that small chance Thursday night, and severe weather, we really don't have too many worries coming up in the next 10 days. I mentioned the cold tonight. Here's a look at the potential low temperatures, single digits over the northern sections of the area. 7 in DeQueen, 11 in Texarkana, 15 tonight in Shreveport. Some of the high-res models, I think the HRRR only dropped us into the upper teens this morning and even 20s with the latest run that I looked at. But keep in mind, we have still this ice on the ground, so models tend to be a bit too warm when that is the case. I mentioned the power outages. The repair crews have made some good progress today, and kudos to them and thank them for their hard work. But you can see we're pretty much already totally back on in Shreveport and Caddo Parish. The trouble spots remain over the southern parts of the ArkLaTex, where we got, a good half an inch to 3/4, maybe even more of an inch of ice accumulation. And yesterday, at one point, Red River Parish was 88% out. And you can see they've cut that more than in half. In fact, last night at this time, we had more than 50% in Shelby, DeSoto, and Red River counties or parishes. So you can see we're making progress there. Also notice that in the it could be worse file, notice all these purples here. Anywhere you see purple, there are anywhere from 80 to 100% of the customers in these areas without power. Now, this may be a relatively sparsely populated area, so in terms of numbers, but still, if you live there, you want your power back. And that being said, we're a couple days in now, so they're in for a long week, it looks like. Let's move ahead and talk about the current pattern as we still have this northwesterly flow, this broad trough. Here's the center of the disturbance that brought us the winter storm. And we're going to see another impulse kind of dive southward here into the Ohio Valley. Not good news for you, Chris, as we head to the weekend in terms of the cold. But Gary, look at you. You got this ridging. That's going to keep you a bit on the warm side. And I'll try to remember to look up your numbers, Gary, before I depart tonight. But you can see we'll see that dig in, and that's going to be basically the source of our chance of rain, mainly rain Thursday night, although most of us will stay dry. Take you out of 4 days here with across the country, and you can see another surge of cold and some lake effect snows up around the Great Lakes. That front is going to fizzle out before it gets here, as we're actually going to be warming up here tomorrow and Wednesday with highs climbing, as I mentioned, 40s tomorrow, probably pretty close to 50 on Wednesday. And then moving into Thursday, we very well could be in the middle of 50s. And then we'll see that cold begin to move in. You'll see a high up here, and that's going to drop our temperature. Here it comes. I don't like it when highs move from north to south. It's kind of scary. But anyway, that's another surge of Arctic air, and we'll see temperatures this weekend dip back into the teens in spots with some low 20s elsewhere. Highs will fall back into the 30s. But as that high moves east, we're going to quickly warm up early next week. Let's see if we got any questions or other comments. Eric says now 21 already in Colbert, Oklahoma, west of the ArkLaTex. 2 feet of snow on the 2 feet. That seems a bit extreme. I can see 2 inches. No school again. I had a drift, Eric, that was of sleet in my backyard that was 2 feet, easy 2 feet. It may have been 2.5 feet. It was rather extreme. It was at least 2 feet. I'll put it that way. I'm going to let that melt. I'm not going to take the shovel to it. I don't think you can break it apart anyway. Christopher's rooting on Gary's Chiefs. We got some gossip going on there. Chris says it was 9 inches of snow last night. Wind chills 27 below. I wouldn't go anywhere either, Chris. Billy, I bet it was a long trip, so I'm glad you made it back safely. Yep, they were. It was rather warm, and that was the thing too about Saturday night, especially, was that when that wave came in during the evening, and the sounding was out before it. I said, "Boy, here comes the freezing rain," and it was all sleet here in that first wave, and I was rather encouraged by that. And the main impacts of the freezing rain was down towards Manny and Natchitoches, where obviously the cold wedge beneath that warm nose was a bit deeper. Bonnie likes the cold, all right? Cold front Chris is here. 5.5 inches of snow. Wow. No, it wasn't. I actually had 3 inches. Did measure for my Coco Ross observation. Obviously, I couldn't do it since I was here a couple during the previous days. I'm waiting for the what actually was in the gauge to melt because I was doing other things. I didn't have a chance to do it more quickly. Chris wants more snow. Uh, I don't see much. You might have a shot, Chris, Thursday night, but again, I doubt it. Okay, let's move ahead to through tonight, and you can see that we will stay mostly clear with a few clouds here and there. Tomorrow we start off with sunshine, but a few clouds roll in late in the day. Notice the relatively light southwesterly wind. That's enough to warm us into the 40s, at least most of the area. Partly to mostly cloudy tomorrow night, and pretty much the same thing for Wednesday. And Wednesday will feature highs that will warm into the 40s and low 50s. Wednesday night, partly to mostly cloudy. And then as we head into Thursday, you can see the mix of lots of clouds and a little bit of sunshine. And Futurecast, there's that little brief spurt of pink and blue. Futurecast thinks that if we have anything Thursday, it will be cold enough for some wintry precipitation over the southeastern quarter of the area. We'll see. If it happens, again, I think it's going to be too warm, but we'll see. Again, the majority of the models keeping all that to our south. And you can see Friday we should see the return of some sunshine, but a gusty north to northeasterly wind is going to bring in that colder air, as it will be cooler on Friday and much cooler on Saturday. All right, let's go longer range here, and you can see the change in the weather pattern here is we have the big ridge keeping Gary nice and warm out there out west, but the eastern half of the country staying cold with that ridge tapping into the Arctic air and sending it southward. Here comes the latest surge, and as this swings in, you can see the rain. Notice the monoblend has it all down towards Chris and south there in central and southern Louisiana. None in our area, and you can see how that trough digs southward. So as we head into Friday night and Saturday, the coldest that we'll experience after tonight. And then that trough quickly lifts out as we move into next week, and as the warmer air tries to move in, we might see some more rain develop during the middle part of next week, and it looks like it could be a decent amount, nothing extreme, but still below normal. And Gary, you got something spinning over the top of you late next week. I'll try to remember to look at your numbers here in a second. Let's get into rain here in the first of all, the next 7 days. This is the 7-day outlook from the Weather Prediction Center, so this would cover Thursday night. Notice they only have 100th, so that kind of goes to show you that if something happens, it's not going to be very much. Model blend for the next 10 days. Here's part 1 Thursday night, and then we add the rain from the middle part of next week, and you can see a good ½ an inch to an inch in these blue areas. The lighter amounts will be over the northern sections of the ArkLaTex, where amounts probably 1/4 of an inch or less, if this is correct. Again, we're a week away from most of this rain, so actually more than that, so chances are it's going to change. Here's a look at the individual models, and there's pretty good agreement on that ½ an inch to an inch, possible pretty much anywhere. Notice the European keeping De Queen totally dry, as it does for most of the area, relatively dry on the European. The GFS is much more soggy, showing a good 1.5 to 2 inches. So, and again, longer range, I just mentioned the GFS. This is what it's showing. And again, most of this rain would be coming during the next 10 days. So that's how the GFS lays out the rain across the rest of the area. And generally speaking, this is for 2 weeks a bit below normal. It's pretty close to normal for 10 days, but a little bit below normal for the next 2 weeks. All right, everyone wants to know when we're going to warm up. Well, here's a look at the next 2 weeks from the European ensembles. And you can see we will stay below normal temperature-wise through this weekend. Although if the Euro is correct, we get close Wednesday. The 58 Wednesday, I think, is a bit too warm. Actually, a lot too warm. And probably closer to 48 than 58. And you can see the cold that comes in this weekend, 17 Friday night. But we quickly recover. Definitely we'll see at least mid-50s here during the first half of next weekend. Look what happens at the end. This goes as we enter February. In that first week of February, we'll be back up into the 60s for daytime highs, lows in the 40s. That red line is normal high, the blue line is normal low. So we will switch back to more slightly above normal temperatures as we head into the second week of February. GFS is not quite as bullish on the warmth. Notice 49 Wednesday, which I have 50, so that seems reasonable. 54 Thursday seems reasonable. And you can see the lack of warm-up Friday as the colder air moves in. And notice not as cold this weekend, which is interesting. And it also shows the warm-up, but not quite as warm as the European ensemble. So definitely this tells you that week one of the next 2 weeks will be rather cold. And then after that, it's going to be pretty normal temperature-wise if you average everything out. And obviously minus Thursday or Thursday night. And you can see Friday morning 36 in Shreveport. So that goes to show you. That's one reason why I'm not too concerned about wintry precipitation here heading in, especially since it's going to fall south of Shreveport for Thursday night. So there you have it for the next 2 weeks. Let's see what Gary's numbers look like. And I'm going to kind of do some quick checking here for Gary. And Chris, I'll look up yours too. That ought to be very interesting with what this weekend. All right, let's go down to PSP. Gary, your temperatures. Oops, I hit the wrong one. Your temperatures, Gary, looks like you said 70s today. You'll be in the mid-80s. Mid-80s by the end of this weekend. 84 for Sunday. Your coldest night will be tonight, actually, and you'll be in the 40s. And then pretty much every night after that will be in the low to middle 50s all the way to the 11th. And starting on Thursday the 29th, you'll be in the 80s, and you'll be there for the rest of the period. And will Gary have all goose eggs? Yes, pretty much. Looks like goose eggs for Gary. They're in Palm Springs in the desert. Chris, let me look at your numbers. Let's see. Temperatures. Oops, I hit Phoenix. All right, here is rain, snow. Looks like your next chance of precip will be maybe Saturday, and not a whole lot. Does show an inch or two of snow in the next 2 weeks. And as far as your temperatures there, Chris, this is what I want to see. The cold is coming back this weekend, as if it's not already cold enough. This shows 16 tomorrow, -2 tonight. Your coldest night could be Wednesday night at -6. And then your high Friday, 9. And lows 5 below Friday and Saturday mornings. But by the end of next week, you'll be in the mid to upper 20s. Lows will be in the mid-teens. So for those of us in the ArkLaTex, we can complain all we want, but it could be worse. But we're not used to what we just got, so it's all right to complain. All right, let's see if we have any more questions or comments before I go here. Let's see, but where did I end off at? Christopher said an inch of snowfall, probably sleet, Christopher. Let's see. Mary, you're quite welcome. Thanks for watching. I bet it does, Chris. 40s and 50s sound like summer in January compared to what we've had. Shantavius in Queen City, really nothing, just cold tonight, and then we gradually get back to normal for you, and that's pretty much the same for all of us. Let's see. Gail wants to know, will the ice melt soon? It will. You'll see a good deal of melting tomorrow, Gail, and it should be pretty much gone, minus the shady areas on Wednesday. Shady areas will take a bit longer. That sun does a pretty good job of if the sleet is exposed to that sun. Karen, you're quite welcome. Chris said snow on Valentine's Day. I pulled the numbers. I'll give you a preview. It's possible that we could see some more, but the percentages, how much doesn't look like much, looking out that far out. Now, obviously, the European long range ensembles didn't see what we just went through last week, so we'll see, or at least 2 weeks ago, I should say. Go ahead. If you invent that time machine, Donnell, I'll join you. Come on down, Chris. You're quite welcome, Gary. Don't suffer too much, man. Pretty soon it's going to be 120, so enjoy those 80s. I'm glad your power is back, Stephen. I know I was very lucky. I was dreading that possibility. It does, Christopher. The cold can sneak up on you. That's why I tried to clean my windshield yesterday without gloves, and it didn't last very long before I looked in the car. Oh, there they are. Good. All right. You're quite welcome, Brian. And before I go, let's take a look at the forecast here as it is getting closer to 9 o'clock. And you can see that we will see, again, very cold temperatures tonight. There is some hope it may not be this cold. Some of the models, again, hinting a little bit warmer. But nonetheless, low to middle teens for most of us, probably what we should prepare for. Single digits, keep the faucet dripping tonight. Open up the cabinet doors to the sink. Let the heated air get in the cabinet. That tends to help out as well on nights like tonight. And keep your fingers crossed you don't have any issues. I've learned in my house that the issues start when we get down to 10 and below. And then there's one sink especially. Anyway, tomorrow we're looking at partly cloudy. It'll be much warmer with highs above freezing area wide, probably upper 30s north, upper 30s, low 40s, even a few middle 40s down towards Manny and Natchitoches with nothing as far as precipitation. Again, we have a very small chance Thursday night. And then another batch of cold air arrives this weekend. You can see I have 21 Saturday morning, 37 for the high Saturday, another cold night Saturday night, and then we warm back up into the 50s next week. Next best chance of rain will be during the middle part of next week. There's still some question as to when it will start and when it will end. It could begin as soon as Tuesday and end Thursday. So keep an eye on next week. As of right now, no severe weather. And no, obviously, with those temperatures, wintry weather as well. Well, that will pretty much do it for me tonight, folks. As always, I appreciate everyone tuning in and asking your questions. Always enjoy interacting with everyone. Again, just a reminder to download the KTL Now app. You can watch this on your TV in case everything's too small on your phone. That is, as soon as I get done here, I'm going to basically send it that way. So I'll talk to you again tomorrow night. Until then, have a great Monday night. Stay warm and get outside tomorrow and enjoy the sunshine on those warmer temperatures. Good night.